Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to EntreArchitect Podcast, where each week I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. This is episode 305, and this week at EntreArchitect Podcast, how a powerful brand and a strong team culture leads to a thriving architecture firm, with Eco House founder, architect Elizabeth Carmichael. This episode of EntreArchitect Podcast is supported by our platform sponsors, ARCAT, the online resource delivering quality building material information, CAD details, BIM specifications, and so much more, all free at arcat.com. FreshBooks, the cloud-based accounting software that makes running your small firm easy, fast, and secure. Spend less time on accounting and more time doing the work you love. And Gusto, easy online payroll, benefits, and HR built for modern small businesses just like ours. Elizabeth Carmichael, welcome to EntreArchitect podcast.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being here. Let me tell our listeners a little bit about you. Elizabeth Carmichael is an architect based in San Diego, California, and is founder of EcoHouse. EcoHouse is an architecture firm whose concern for a building's impact on the environment and the people occupying it is at the forefront of their design practice, providing a resource for people to learn about and experience green building. Elizabeth has organized and conducts a program called Eco Labs as a hands-on approach to educating the public on implementing sustainable practices. And she serves on the board of directors for San Diego Green Building Council and is on the path to an MBA in sustainable business. So you're going for it, all in. I love it.
Thank you.
So Elizabeth, I shared a little bit about who you are and what EcoHouse is doing, but let's dive a little bit deeper. Let's go into your origin story. Just share the story from where you discovered architecture, what inspired you to become an architect, and tell us that journey from there to where you find yourself today.
Sure. So I actually, growing up, had moved around quite a bit, and just my dad got, transferred from different plant to plant. He was in manufacturing, and so we moved around, and by moving around, we ended up looking at a lot of houses every year when we moved. So at one point, I think I was maybe 12, and my parents bought a house that was not quite finished. So working with the contractor and, my parents kind of kept us in the room. We got to hear everything that was going on, and I saw floor plans and things like that. And I think that really kind of piqued my interest. Then I would see, kind of the floor plan magazines at the grocery store and would get those and started drawing my own kind of, imaginary places as a kid. And didn't really, when I started to think about college, I just kind of went for engineering. My dad was an engineer, and I think he kind of pushed me in that direction. But I kind of realized that where my heart was architecture. So how I, kind of went through the normal, worked at different firms throughout my career, and then had an opportunity to do a couple projects, small projects for people I knew, and then came across working with another person in San Diego and kind of getting, again, these smaller projects, and just ended up at one point having enough under my belt to quit my job and go on my own. The sustainability has always been a passion of mine, and really, I think growing up in New England in nature and kind of having that culture that's there of, the kids I grew up with had parents who had gone to Woodstock and they were protesting the nuclear power plant and things like that. So it actually had my eyes open to just, recycling and kind of the basic things that you learn as a young person. But then the impact of it, and through education, learning the impact that the buildings have on our environment, was where, okay, this is what I do. So I need to be as responsible as possible and push the envelope to get clients. And a lot of my clients are developers. So to try to get them to go and be as sustainable as possible. And I've found that throughout the years, it's actually getting easier, that clients and developers both, I think, just because of the overall awareness, now want to do sustainability.
Yeah, I think it's become part of our culture, that people are starting to pay attention and starting to realize that it's important. You hear it at every level.
So now I have clients who come to me and say, I want to make my house as sustainable as possible. How do I do that? Which before it was more like you should make your house sustainable. So the conversation has completely flipped, which is just a wonderful, absolutely wonderful thing.
Was the idea of launching EcoHouse? So that's clearly a sustainable architecture firm, right from the name.
Right. Right.
Was that intentional from day one? Was it EcoHouse right from the beginning?
Yes. Yes.
So that was a strategic decision.
Correct. Yes. And came up with EcoHouse, later came up with the Habitats of Urban Sustainable Experiences as our kind of the acronym for our company name. And that was through, because we are in an urban environment, and we don't just do homes, we do a lot of infill, we do a lot of multifamily and mixed use. And so there is an urban sustainable experience that we are trying to create and let the occupants and the users of our structures, know that they're in a sustainable building.
So you've built a strong brand around EcoHouse. Do you when you decided that, was there any fear in sort of quote unquote pigeonholing yourself to sustainable architecture and sort of letting all the rest of the architecture go to someone else?
Not necessarily. It was what I wanted to do. I kind of have always had the feeling that there's enough work to go around. Maybe that's because of the city that I'm in, but I think I feel that everyone can do that. It doesn't mean you have to turn down projects that aren't necessarily in your wheelhouse, but it does attract those type of clients.
Right. So you're an expert, right from the beginning when people are looking for projects that they want to build as a sustainable project, and they're looking at a list of architects, and one of those architects is named EcoHouse. You're probably on the short list right from day one.
Right. Yeah. The name is somewhat a magnet for the type of clients that we want.
So tell me the history about EcoHouse. How did it start, and sort of how did you build it? And when did you start the firm?
So we started pretty much right after the crash of in 2008. I had another firm before that with a partner, and who wasn't really as interested in sustainability. And so with the downfall of work at that point, with the real estate market, it kind of made me, I was working on my own at that point, and I wanted to refocus and, have actual control over what the projects were and the type of clients we were getting. So that was kind of what spawned it. I actually, quite honestly, meditated on what my name should be, and it came into my brain.
Yeah, I love that. And that's, we can go into a whole other path of meditation, because
Right.
I completely agree with you. I think that meditation is super powerful because it brings the thoughts that are in your head already right to the forefront that you don't even realize are there. They're just sitting there waiting to be discovered. And if you don't...
Yeah, it kind of gives you a clear plate to find those.
Yeah, if you don't sort of quiet down the noise in order to find those little, nuggets that are floating around in your brain, you never find them because there's always just too much activity and too much noise.
Exactly.
So the brand of EcoHouse was strategic. So and you came right out of the downturn of the economy, the recession, and so that gave you an opportunity to sort of rethink how you're going to design and build your own firm. We just recently spoke to another architect that the same thing happened, and totally rebuilt his firm in the way that he wanted the firm to. And today's thriving because of those decisions that he made in
right. It
learning
was
from the mistakes.
definitely a blessing in disguise to have that unfortunate economy at that time. But it, the bubble had burst in San Diego. And so I had probably the day that stock market crashed, I had like 8 projects put on hold. So it was a whoa moment. And exactly how do we rebuild it to be the real firm that I wanted.
So was EcoHouse purely a brand new firm, or was it an evolution of the old firm?
It was it was a brand new firm, although I did have some projects still, lingering from the old firm, but I had completely separated from my old partner, and we just went our separate ways. And yeah, it was actually immediately, pretty much, as the economy picked back up, pretty much immediately started having better, bigger and better projects. So it definitely was the right decision for me.
And did you have employees right from the beginning?
No, I didn't. I had just myself at first, and had a friend of mine who I'd worked with at a previous firm help me out a little bit on one project. And then I did hire someone, and we were working right out of my living room. We had, for a while, actually converted our living room to an office and moved our couch into the dining room that was attached to the kitchen. And then, of course, got an office. But yeah, kept it small at first, and worked with when I had meetings or conferences, there's quite a few different co-op office type businesses around here where you can easily rent a conference room. And so that's what I did. And it worked for a while.
And so what type of marketing did you do early on? How did those early projects find their way to you?
So I would get a lot of word of mouth, mainly through realtors and contractors. I think those, even now to this day, realtors and contractors, I think, are the biggest referrals I get.
What are you doing to cultivate that? How are you making that happen?
So a lot of times I reach out to realtors that are in kind of the sub neighborhoods of where I have current projects. Also just kind of networking and going to other events where there's realtors I know at, and typically there's other realtors there as well.
And so you network with them.
Network.
You intentionally reach out to them. You go to where they are. How are you doing with the contractors? Just through projects that you're doing and building relationships that way?
Been through through projects that I had with them previously. Not so much reaching out to contractors I don't know, but contractors that I had previously worked with are often good base of referrals.
Is your work still majority referral?
I would say that. Also, we do have like the typical job site signs out that I'll get calls off of, especially in the neighborhoods where it's infill neighborhood, people who own property and see what's going on around them. It's kind of a double-edged sword because you also have neighborhoods who don't like what's going on around them as well. But people who realize they are in a multifamily neighborhood and their property is underdeveloped, they see our job site sign in their neighborhood and then reach out to us.
So the brand is doing its job there as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So they see the sign, they see the name of the firm, and they say, "Oh,
right.
That's exactly what we're looking for."
Yep.
So how is your firm structured today? How many people do you have working with you today?
So right now we have five people. Like I said, I had gone up to 8, but I feel like right now where we have it is a good group for us. It's controllable, and can have everyone is good, responsible people who take care of their own work, and I feel it's a good group without we'll probably slowly grow, but I don't want to take on too much and then have it where you don't really know what's going on.
Is the firm more
had that feeling in the past?
Yeah, exactly. Is your firm more horizontal or more vertical? Are you doing the work and then passing it down to others, or are there multiple project managers running their own projects?
So we have project coordinators. I have a senior project manager that I say would be closer to what I do without dealing with, deals less with the business side of it, but helps me manage the projects, helps me manage the project coordinators, setting deadlines, making sure everything gets done on time, and within budget. And she has actually set up Excel sheets that have amazed me, that help us really look at analyzing projects and making sure everything's done how it's supposed to. So yeah, it's probably a little bit of both. We have I try to have a real team culture, and we have maybe initial design, but then we'll always have a design lab where everyone in the company gets to kind of put their feet in to the design. And I like that. I feel like I have a younger group of staff that are more recently out of school and have maybe fresher ideas than my stale brain sometimes does. So I encourage them to, give me their wild kind of crazy ideas. And of course, I may dream kill a little bit, but how do we make those ideas into a reality part of the project? And I think it's important that everyone kind of feels like the projects are their baby also, not just my baby. And have a real pride in the project, whether they are kind of spearheading it or they just had worked on it a little bit.
So is every project set up that way?
Yes.
So the project comes in, a project coordinator is assigned that project, and then they sort of manage that process. But during that process, the entire firm is involved in some of that preliminary design work.
Well, so we'll do kind of a preliminary design to really get, the building envelope and not waste everyone's time. But once that's kind of honed in and it's kind of to a real rough schematic level, we have, kind of like the old school design charrette, and everyone comes to the table. We pull the markers out. We make, scribble and make Picassos and just kind of brainstorm and, come up with concepts, come up with ideas, and throw plenty of ideas out. But, try to encourage bold, creative ideas during that process. And then at that point, we're going to take kind of the best of all of it and create a cohesive design. And then that same project coordinator will continue with the project.
And so that's not only creating better projects, it's creating a culture of a team, right? So that's reinforcing the team. Are you doing other things in the firm that is also encouraging that team culture?
Yeah, that's really what I've tried to do. It is so much, because I really don't want to have anyone feel like they're coming to work and it's a job. I want it to feel like it's really their company as well as mine. So yeah, we do like the eco labs that we do them in-house for each other, where we educate each other. And then we also do them where we bring, the public in as well. And so we work as a team to create those for the public.
What is an eco lab? How does that work?
One team member. So like for instance, our last one we did was horticulture of urban sustainable experiences. And so we worked with a person who's head of the new plants at a local nursery. And our idea was that lab was to basically have, someone wants a tropical landscape, someone wants an English garden landscape. How do you do that in where it's very important for where we live to have them in drought tolerant native plants? So how do you create a tropical landscape with drought tolerant plants? And so we had that. We had the public come in. She also did kind of an interactive learning lesson where there was pictures of plants. People were trying to match them to the actual plants that are there. And then during the holidays, we did kind of you take the succulents and bring in a pot or something to reuse, or different items people brought in, and basically make a holiday succulent type garden that you could give to someone. So some of them are a little more beginner level, and others are a little more in depth. We had one about LED lighting that definitely was, probably a little more advanced one. We have two of my staff kind of focused on or minored in neurological focus on architecture. And so they're coming up with their own eco lab about that.
Wow,
so
that
I'll
sounds
be interested to see what they come up with for that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's trying to bring them and into being their own leaders as well.
Yeah.
So
those eco labs sound very powerful, because they're not only bringing your team together and sort of helping to consolidate some of the knowledge base that's in your firm, because they have to document what they're going to present, so you have that in a written format. Are you recording those as well?
We are, yeah, and we've even done like little PowerPoints for them and things like that. So yeah.
And it's also great marketing, because it's a way to reach out to the community and give back, and that reinforces the brand of Eco House.
And also, I mean, when I do the eco labs for the public, I reach out to local TV stations, and they're always welcoming to have you on to promote events, because they need material as well.
Right. That's fantastic. We will return to our conversation after this quick break to say thank you to our platform sponsors, ARCAT, FreshBooks, and Gusto. If you work with specifications in your firm, you probably have come across outdated manufacturer specs with confusing notes, products that no longer exist, or maybe even companies that no longer exist. Maybe you even pay for specifications. Stop right now. There's a better way to find manufacturer specifications for your project documentation. ARCAT. ARCAT.com. ARCAT is the #1 most used website for finding building product information, and has a free library of over 1,400 up-to-date accurate specifications written by FCSI, CCS, and AIA professionals based on manufacturers' data. Use ARCAT's powerful search engine to find the right specifications for your project and quickly download them in multiple formats for free. That's right, ARCAT is completely free. You don't even need to register. Just go to arcat.com. That's ARCAT.com. arcat.com, and start building better content today. Do you remember when you started your architecture firm? Well, maybe you're in the middle of that right now. Maybe you are in the middle of launching your architecture firm. It's not easy, is it? It takes lots of late nights, early mornings, and maybe even the occasional all-nighter. Well, we are crazy busy, so why not make things a little bit easier? Well, our friends at FreshBooks have the solution. FreshBooks invoicing and accounting software is designed specifically for small business owners like us. It's simple, intuitive, and keeps you way more organized than a dusty shoebox filled with crumpled receipts. Create and send professional-looking invoices in 30 seconds, and then get them paid 2 times faster with automated online payments. File expenses even quicker and keep them perfectly organized for tax time. Yep, tax time's coming up. And the best part, FreshBooks grows alongside your business, so you'll always have the tools that you need when you need them, without ever having to learn the ins and the outs of accounting. Join the 24 million people who've used FreshBooks. Try it for free. Free for 30 days, no catch, no credit card. Visit EntreArchitect.com/FreshBooks. EntreArchitect.com/FreshBooks, and enter EntreArchitect in the How Did You Hear About Us section to get started. Visit EntreArchitect.com/FreshBooks. What do you think of when you hear the words payroll and benefits? Payroll and benefits. Does that make your skin crawl? Does it make your spine tingle? Payroll and benefits are hard. It's okay. It's hard, especially when you're a small business like us. You don't have time to be an expert in things like taxes and regulations. A couple of more words that might make your skin crawl. And old school payroll providers just aren't built for the way that we're working today. Gusto is making payroll, benefits, and HR easy for small businesses. Modern technology does all the heavy lifting, so it's easy to get things right. You no longer have to be a big company to get great technology, great benefits, and great service for your team. To help support the show, the EntreArchitect podcast, Gusto is offering our listeners an exclusive deal. Sign up today and you'll get 3 months free once you run your first payroll. Just go to EntreArchitect.com/gusto to claim your free 3 months of payroll processing. That's EntreArchitect.com/gusto for 3 months free. Arcat, FreshBooks, and Gusto. Please visit our platform sponsors today and thank them for supporting you, the EntreArchitect community. With the idea of building this team, where you said that you'd like them to feel a sense of ownership, where is the line in your mind as the owner, as the leader, of where that ends? Because I've found in my own experience and from listening to some other architects that encourage that, you want this firm where you have a culture of a sort of a family, and that everybody feels that they're in it for the mission of the firm, and they take ownership in that. But then there's also a certain level where you as a leader, as the firm owner, need to make some decisions that may not involve them or may be counter to what they want. How do you find that
100%.
line, and how do you handle that situation?
I think the best way to handle that is to kind of go about because that definitely does come up, is how do you, like I say, I have ultimate veto power, but without making it feel that way,
Right,
basically.
right.
And I go about it by giving kind of the reasoning and explanation of why something needs to be that way, rather than just saying it has to be done. For example, giving, we're doing something and the reason why is because of XYZ experience that we had. And, this is why we need to do it this way. It's more of an explanation and reasoning. Also gives them the opportunity. Maybe they have an idea that because, it's a workaround. Okay, this is why we're doing it this way, they have a design in mind. And so how can we, work around the problem that I see that maybe they have a solution for that I don't see.
Right. Because that goes both ways, right? That sometimes you have ultimate veto power, but sometimes they have an idea that may go counter to what you've always done. And to have a culture and a sense as a leader to be open to those ideas and embrace them and say, well, let me look at what you're talking about because maybe it'll make the firm better. That's really important. I actually experienced that myself as a young architect. And I'm sure many firms feel that with more established, more experienced firm owners, where the younger generation comes in with ideas. And if you're open to those, sometimes those ideas transform your firm. And when you're closed to those ideas, those opportunities are lost because you've never even given the opportunity to hear them. And I was that young architect once bringing an idea to a firm and was shut down. And it was just like, go back to work, go back to your drafting board and keep drawing because I don't need to hear what you're saying. And they never even looked at it. And that's very frustrating. Not only, even if it's a terrible idea, if you shut that idea down before it's even explored, you just crushed the spirit of that employee, that they no longer feel like they're being heard. And then, so you're taking a little bit away from them. And so even if it's a bad idea, you should be open to listening to it.
I agree. I try not to give bad commentary, but more encourage the good design.
Yeah, yeah. But I think
So
what you said before, where the culture is, we're open, but we're going to look at every
right,
idea as its own, and sometimes those ideas are not going to work, and here's why they don't
exactly,
work. And so,
exactly,
with their expectation, bringing you the idea that I know she's going to review it, I know that she's going to be open to the idea, but it may also not be what the firm needs, and I can
right.
accept that because that's the expectation when I bring something to you.
And also, I think it's you want to encourage everyone to come to you with the ideas and not feel like, I think, being given our generation, I got into a firm and I just kind of put my head down and worked hard and buckled and tried to learn as much as I can, and um, you know kept my mouth shut most of the time. And I think but I think the people who are coming out of school now are they didn't grow up the same way we did, and so I think they have um, they want to have a seat at the table. And not that we didn't, but I think we were just trained
Yeah.
trained that old school way.
Yeah,
And
it's also a
um,
very different culture now, right?
right,
When I was in architecture school and there was no internet, right?
right, there was no internet.
I mean, there was an internet, but it wasn't what it is today. There was no social
Right,
media. The social media
right. I
hadn't
tell
yet
these
been
guys,
developed.
the first firm I worked at, when we had to email engineers, we had to put it on a disk, go into the accountant's office, get on the dial-up modem, wait for it to go on, and then email the
Right,
drawing.
right. And so, but this current generation grew up with that. They grew up
Right,
with computers and technology and social media and their ability to express their opinions without any resistance. Right from
exactly.
the day
Yep.
they've grown up with the device in their hands, being able to say,
Right,
"This is what I feel," right, and it
right,
goes out there and they get response, right, instant response. And so today, when they come to a firm, that's just who they are. They expect that if
yeah,
they're going to
exactly.
communicate something, they're going to get instant response. Sometimes it's negative, sometimes it's positive. That happens on the internet as well.
Right,
And so, yes, it's a very different mindset.
right.
They think differently than the prior generations.
And I always like to say, because sometimes I don't even, this is just a part of communication. People communicate differently. I may not understand what they're trying to say to me. So I say, okay, show me or draw it for me so I understand what you're trying to portray. Or if it's an idea that I don't necessarily like and they are kind of really, really enamored with the idea, I say, okay, convince me. How can you convince me that it's the best thing for the project?
Right.
And so not to just totally shut it down, but you know show me how it is the better way to do it,
Yeah.
because
So
maybe it is and I'm just not seeing it.
yeah. So what's the future of Eco House? You said that you were at 8, you came back to 5, you're feeling comfortable
Hmm.
at 5, but you're
Yeah.
thinking maybe you'll grow again. So what's the future look like for Eco House?
So yeah, the future, I think we do want to grow. It's just going to be kind of more of a slow growth. I think I did too much fast growth, and then like I said, it felt out of control. So I think when I have these project coordinators are at a level where I feel they could manage people, and I think we're going to take on more people so that we can take more projects on and not push projects down the schedule and then don't necessarily get them.
Right. So you've built this structure within your firm that is scalable. So you have this
Exactly.
team that can put together a project, and once you know that team works, and you've built systems that team can then execute from, then it's just simply a matter of creating another,
Right.
another structure of a team, another arm of the team, right?
Yep.
And then you can just scale that to a certain point, and then those leaders are going to have to be managed some way, and then there's another level
Right.
of management.
Right.
But that's a great way to grow, is to sort of build that strategic structure, build the systems that the structure work from, and then replicate that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep. And that's what
exciting.
we're trying to do. Get this machine as well oiled as possible, and then duplicate it.
Yeah, and slowly and intentionally.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very interesting. Are you doing anything specifically to sort of prepare for the next downturn, so you don't end up in the same
Um,
place as the last one?
well, so a lot of our work had somewhat shifted. California has gone and really encouraged affordable housing here because we're somewhat desperate for housing. San Diego has really high priced living, and it's hard for the average person to afford a house here. So we have, because we do a lot of apartments, the now we're finding with the encouragement, they've really increased density bonuses along the transit lines. And so now projects that really didn't pencil out before to do affordable housing, they are penciling out. So that I feel like has given us somewhat a foot in the door for the next downturn, because of the demand of housing. The projection is that we'll have another million people here by 2030. So they have to live somewhere, and we're already actually far under what we should be for housing stock.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great way to prepare. Just sort of be in a position in a market that is in demand, right? And
Yeah, and I feel like also affordable housing is a way of really encouraging sustainability, because as much of us can relate to, when you can't pay your bills and you're trying to come up with rent, it's hard to think about being sustainable when you're worried about money or worried about other things. So you don't have the luxury to be sustainable, shall we say.
yeah,
And so I think the more we can encourage affordable housing gives those people the opportunity to be more sustainable. And then of course the affordable housing that we're building, the new affordable housing, is so much more green and sustainable products and energy systems than were in the past.
right. By code, right? California
By code, yeah.
is the leader in sustainable codes. I mean, they're requiring, very, very strict limits on all the different aspects of green building, and so that's another benefit of having the EcoHouse brand, is that as these requirements are forcing buildings to be built a specific way, you are being perceived as someone who's been doing it that way from the beginning. Yes, California is forcing us to do that, but we've been doing it all along, so we know how to do it better than anyone else.
Right.
Yeah, very interesting.
Right. And the builders are somewhat get shocked every time the code changes to know, okay, well, what are we do now? So
yeah. And I'm hearing a lot of California architects who are also sort of scrambling to finish up projects on the old code and starting to learn the new code, and it's tough when the code changes every 3 years. You sort of have to rebuild your systems all over again because your old systems were based on old code.
Right. Yeah. But I feel like it's the code finally is catching up with what is necessary.
Right.
We have 2020 January 1st, we had the new net zero energy for residential come into effect in California, and I think it's a long time coming.
Yeah, and I love that, because in your case, the code is catching up with you because you've been there all along, and so and others are now trying to catch up with the code.
Exactly.
So, Elizabeth, what's one thing that a small firm architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow?
So for me, what I would encourage people to do is kind of really think about how you relate to your staff. And, we had kind of changed our whole review process, where it's more of a dynamic review and really talking to staff about, it's not just, okay, what skills do you have and what do you need help training and things like that. It's more about, what is making you happy in the office? What do you like, or how can you contribute to the success? What are the values that, we need to align with. And then we also do, I also have them ask me questions during the review. We have kind of a list of general questions that are not your typical review questions, but they can pick from those or come up with their own. And then we do one-on-one reviews every month where we switch. So we kind of all round robin, like I'll have a review with one staff member this month and two staff members will review each other. And it's more of, again, we pick, and that's just a 3-question review to spark conversation. So one person will pick 3 questions, the other person will pick 3 questions, and it just kind of sparks that conversation more about, structure and culture and, work-life balance and things of that nature, so that we really have it where it's, not just like I said, you're coming to work, but you are coming to a culture and a support system and a place where you want to go to every morning.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So once a month you're doing these one-on-ones. So how often are you doing your main reviews?
Twice a year.
Twice a year. So biannually. And how are you capturing the data that's coming out of those reviews? Because those reviews are like, that's where those big ideas come from. And how do you capture that?
We actually are using Google Sheets. So we have it where, everyone can access their own folder. And then when we do the one-on-ones, they bring up the same sheet because I want everyone to ask different questions every time so that, maybe by the end of a year, you'll have asked, 36 different questions to 2 different people on the team as well. And so sometimes it's, the 2 project coordinators are just discussing things and they may come up and they have come up with ways to do things that are better for the company without anyone else being involved.
Yeah, and then so you're documenting that on Google Sheets. So those the questions and the answers are being recorded, and then
they have access to them as well.
Yeah, super interesting. Yeah, it's I can see how you're very focused on building a collaborative team and building a team that feels that they have ownership because they literally are helping to build the firm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do a couple charity events throughout the year too. And we just got finished with Tree of Dreams for Rady's Children's Hospital, where we decorate a tree and they auction it off, and all the proceeds go to the Children's Hospital. But that is a real team building exercise that we do every year. We come up with a theme for the tree. We, kind of towards the end of the day, work on it where it turns into basically a madman craftsman elf workshop in here. And, but it's really fun. And then we have, we end up, people volunteer their time to work late on these crafts and on the ornaments. And these are very over the top trees. And then we go to the party and the auction, and it's a lot of fun. And everyone really feels like very special and kind of in the holiday spirit as well.
It sounds like a great place to work.
Thanks, Mark.
EcoHouseGreen.com. EcoHouseGreen.com is the website. Elizabeth said that she's going to be hiring soon. So if you're in the San Diego area and you have some expertise in sustainable design and you're looking for a place to have some fun, EcoHouseGreen.com. Elizabeth, this was a lot of fun. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your knowledge here at EntreArchitect Podcast.
Thanks so much, Mark. Appreciate you.
You've been listening to episode 305. If you'd like to access the show notes or share a link to this episode, you'll find it at EntreArchitect.com/episode 305. EntreArchitect.com/episode 305. We're growing because you're sharing, so please do. I would appreciate it. If you haven't visited the new homepage at EntreArchitect.com. Head over there right now because we've redesigned it for you to be more useful for small firm architects. Find everything you need to help you build a better business. Links to the podcast, a search engine to find articles, resources, and podcast episodes, super easily accessed. Access all the powerful things that you need over at EntreArchitect.com, right from the search engine. You can even access the EntreArchitect membership from the homepage. And if you're not a member yet, you need to join us. Every month, we invite an expert into the membership, and they present a 60-minute training webinar on the most critical topics of business, leadership, and life as a small firm architect. So if you're not yet a member, you can join us right now at EntreArchitect.com. It's all there in one place at EntreArchitect.com, the blog, the podcast, the resources, and the links to join all the different memberships we have. It's waiting for you at EntreArchitect.com. Love, learn, and share what you know. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark Arlepage, founder of EntreArchitect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.